My name's Jennifer Power, and today I'm going to go over how to paint a coneflower watercolor. I'll go over everything step by step, so I hope you'll follow along with me. Let's get started. So what I have here is a Canson cold press watercolor paper. This is 9 by 12. You can use whatever size you have, whatever is available to you. I would recommend that you purchase some kind of watercolor paper. Regular paper won't handle this much water, it'll get really wrinkly, and it might not get the results that you're looking for. So again, it doesn't have to be this paper, but I would recommend some kind of watercolor paper. And I have over here my brushes. I have a number 6 round and a number 2 round. I have a paper towel. I like to use this to get rid of any excess water or dab color off of my brush. I have my cup of water here, and then I have my palette of paint. And you can use whatever colors that you have available to you. The colors we're going to be using today are green, blue, yellow, magenta, and purple. And then I have over here a metallic watercolor palette. This is something fun that we'll add at the end. If you don't have it, you don't need it to complete this tutorial. But it's just something fun if you do have it available to add a little bit of sparkle to your painting. And then I have my example painting that I did here. So as you can see, we're going to be doing some coneflowers. And if you've never seen a coneflower before, I would recommend doing a quick Google search just so you can see some images of what they look like. And we're not doing, specific portrait of a specific flower, but we just want to give, that look of that particular flower in our painting. And as you can see here in the layout, I did 3 flowers. And I recommend doing an odd number of flowers for your painting. If you have a larger piece of paper, maybe you want to go up to 5. But today I'm going to show you how to do 3. And I like to do a grouping of 2 and then 1. Kind of changes it up and still is balanced, but isn't 3 in a row. And I like to have some white space around my page. I don't want the painting to butt up right against all the edges. If you get it framed or matted, you need a little bit of space here where there will be some overlap. So first we're going to get started here with these centers. And if you prefer to draw them on your page, you can do that in pencil. I recommend doing it very lightly. That way you won't see it when you're all done. So you can kind of plan it out that way. I'm just going to go ahead and eyeball it, freestyle it, whatever you like to say. So first of all, we need a brown color for the centers. And as you can see, I don't have any brown here, so I'm going to have to mix it myself. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2 colors opposite from each other on the color wheels. So these are complementary colors. So I'm going to take my green, add some here on my palette, clean off my brush. Then I'm going to get a little bit of magenta. I'm going to mix that together. And you can see we're getting a fairly decent brown color. Now if you want to change it up a little bit, maybe I'll add a little bit of blue. You can add other colors to it as well. You just want a kind of neutral brown color. Okay. So here's the color that we have. These are going to be our bases here. And I'm going to get some more water. Because in watercolor, to make a color lighter, you're going to add more water. So if you're used to acrylic painting, if you want a lighter shade, you would add white paint to that. But in watercolor, we don't have white. The paper is white. And so the more water that you add to it, the more white of the paper you're going to see. So that's why I'm adding some water to this color, because I want to start off with kind of a medium to light brown. And then we can go back and add some darker values. But I'm gonna start with my number 6 brush. I'm gonna pick up this wash. Maybe I need a little bit more in there. And we're gonna start with just a little gumdrop shape is what I like to think of it. So I'm just gonna add it here. And then we're gonna outline it, and then we're gonna fill it in. Okay, so here's my little gumdrop. You can clean up the edges if you want. And then we're gonna come back to our more saturated color, and we're gonna drop that in here on the sides. Because we want it to look like a form. We don't want it to look like a flat shape. So we're gonna have some darker areas here. Maybe in the corner, we're gonna leave a lot. Kind of up to you. Now I'm gonna move on to my second one. You can keep adding more water. You can keep mixing more paint if you need it. And I'm going to add our second one right about here. I think this is a good spot. Just kind of fill in the shape. You can fill in as you go. You can outline and then fill in. This one's pretty light, so I'm gonna add some more paint all over. And then we're gonna really pick up the paint and add it here in the corners. This side around to the bottom. So we want it to look rounded. Maybe you want a little bit lighter spot, maybe you got too much paint. So what you can do is you can take a little water on your brush, go back over the spot, and you can kind of lift up the paint. Now it's going to make it, you know, a little bit wetter overall, so you might have to let it dry a little bit longer for the next step. And then we're going to add this guy a little bit higher, leave some space for the petals here. So we're going to do, maybe this one's a little shorter than the others. Fill it in. We're going to go back and add our color. It needs a little bit more here. If you get too much water, you can always go in and mix some more paint. You can go back to this one maybe, revisit. You want a little bit more, you know, add it in. You can always go back, add a little bit more. Add a little bit of texture. Okay, so those are looking good. So we're gonna let these hang out and dry just a little bit. And then we're gonna mix the color for the seeds. It's kind of hard to see here on the video, but I'll have a picture up of this example painting. And there's little seeds that surround the centerpiece here. So we're gonna mix an orange color. I'm gonna get my yellow. Okay, quite a bit of yellow here on your palette area. Gonna rinse off my brush. Then I'm gonna get just a little bit of magenta and add that in. So I have a nice orangey color. And I'm gonna pick up some more yellow. I'm gonna want a little bit darker area as well. So I'm gonna pick up a little bit more magenta than I did for the first batch. And we're gonna make a darker orange color. Okay. And I was just using my number 6 brush to mix. But when we actually paint the seeds, we're gonna switch to our number 2. So this is a little bit smaller, still round. And I'm gonna pick up the lightest color. We're gonna kind of see, it's still a little bit wet, so you can blow on it a little bit if you want. We just want it to be semi-dry. And the thing is, if it is too wet and this color bleeds in, you can always go back and add some more to it later. It can look kind of fun to have where the watercolor bleeds together. Okay, so we're just gonna let this dry a bit. I'm gonna pick up this light orange color. And I think of it as little hairs. They're gonna extend beyond this center because the seeds stick out from the middle. So we're just gonna do little dashes, little hairs kind of around. We're gonna work our way around and down. And as we get towards the bottom, I'm gonna pick up, I don't have to clean off my brush, I'm gonna pick up the darker orange. And really add those as we get down, they're getting darker. Okay. And I'm just gonna do that on all three. And I'm gonna go in the order that I painted, so that way they should all be similar in how dry they are. Again, it depends how much water you use and what your paper's like. So if this does really, really bleed in together, you can go back after you're done with the petals and kind of add some more. Got a little bit too much water here on my brush, so I'm gonna wipe it off, go back. So, you know, sometimes you get happy accidents, maybe you didn't try to, but sometimes they end up looking really cool. Okay. Go to my last one and do the same thing. Go around. Partway through, I'm going to kind of start adding in that darker color. Just little hairs all the way around. Make sure they stick out from the sides. Okay. So now I have my centers done for my flowers. So next we're going to start on our petals. And I'm going to start with this flower here on the left. And this one's going to be a little bit more on the pink side. So I'm going to take my number 6 brush. I'm going to pick up some of my pink, really concentrated. I'm going to make 2 little areas of the concentrated pink. Okay. Then I'm going to add a little bit of water. So I have kind of a medium color, and then a little bit more. So this will be my lightest pink, and then it gets darker as we go down. And I like to mix colors together. I mean, anybody can have the same color pink, but if you add a little bit other colors to it, you know, it makes it unique, so it's not exactly the same as everybody else's. So we're just gonna get a little bit of this violet color, this purple, and we're gonna mix it here in this little pool I made to the side. So I need a little bit more than that. Gotta add, so it's a little bit more of a pinky purple. I'm gonna add a little bit more here. Okay. So that way I have my dark pink, my dark purple, and we're gonna use this to drop color into our petals. So I'm gonna get started. I'm using my number 6 brush. And I'm going to pick up this lighter color. And I'm going to start, I'll show you a couple ways to do this, but I'd like to start in the middle. And we're not going to touch the seed pod yet. We're just going to do an outline of the petal. So kind of how we did the seed heads to begin with, we're going to outline it. It's going to be, you know, tapered, just a little petal shape. And they can all be different. And then we're gonna pick up our color here. So I have it in, I have it filled in, and then we're gonna drop in our colors. So this will look pretty cool because the colors are just gonna bleed together. So you can pick up different ones, add more pink, add more of the purple. It's kind of up to you on what you wanna do. So we can keep doing that. Just doing outlines of the petals. We're gonna work our way around. I'm gonna grab this like super pink, drop that in, maybe here and at the end. You can always get some more water and kind of, you know, blend it together if it's a little too harsh. And we're just gonna work our way around this flower. So I'm gonna outline, fill it in. You know, generally as you kind of go towards the sides, the petals are going to be a little shorter than they would be, you know, directly in the front. But again, there's all sorts of different flowers out there. I'm sure whatever shape you make, there's probably a flower that looks like that. Okay, we're going to add one more. This one's kind of sticking out. Maybe got a little curve to it. Purpley, go get our super bright pink, add that in. Okay. So on this side, I'm going to show you there's another way to do the petals. You can use just the brush itself. So you start with a light pressure, and then you're going to really add pressure to the brush and then lighten it up again to pick it back up. So I'm going to get fatter here and then pick it up. Kind of do that a couple times to make your shape. Again, we're going to go back, drop in the colors, see what happens here. They're all going to look different. That's what makes it fun. Again, you can use light pressure and then push your brush down. Do that a couple times until you get a shape you like. Go back and then add your color again. You can see that this isn't, you know, exactly like the test one I did. So whatever you're doing, it's going to be different. But that's okay. Don't worry if it looks different. One got a little funky shape there. That's all right. You can leave a little white area if that happens. You know, it can look cool, a little highlight. Just drop in color in. Okay, so there are my main petals, but we want to make sure it looks like the petals are going around the flower. So I'm going to add just a little triangle here of pink to kind of show that there are petals coming from the other side. So we're going to do it on both sides here. And that's just going to help indicate, again, that this is a shape that's going all the way around. Alright, so next up is going to be this flower here on the right. This one is in front of this flower, so we're going to take care of these petals here, and then we'll get back to the other one behind it. So this one I like to do a little bit more peachy pink. There are some coneflowers that have more of a peach tint to them. So I'm going to pick up my magenta here. And then we're going to go back in, we're going to clean up our brush. You can either take some of this orange that you made earlier, or if you're out of it, just go ahead and pick up some yellow. And it's still going to be mostly the magenta color. And so we're going to add some water and make our different values here so you can pick from. Light, medium, and then the dark. And if you want, you can have some different areas. So I'm going to get some more yellow here. Maybe just like a little bit of the magenta and kind of make more of a orangey color. Sometimes you gotta go back and add back in a little yellow. Okay, so now I have some options here for this flower, and we're gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna pick up this light color, and we're gonna do the first petal here in the middle. Maybe this one's a little longer and skinnier than the first. We're gonna go in, add our darker colors, maybe some of this orange. Go in and add that. Make it as bright as you want, as soft as you want. And then it's kind of fun to go back and get some yellow and just like drop it in little areas, because it'll bleed out and do some fun things. Okay, so we're just gonna keep going around like we did before. It's really hard to get the petals if they touch each other. There's possibility that it's going to bleed into each other, and so it can look really cool if that's what you're going for, but just be aware that if they do touch, you could have a little bit of bleeding happening between the petals. Kind of stick out a little bit more. Colors. Okay, there we go. Maybe you want a little bit of pink, more pink in there. So you can definitely go and add that. You can always add more water like I was doing to soften it up. And then come back and do another one, probably one more here. A little shorter. And then we're gonna go back in, add these colors, just work our way around. Maybe I do one a little, this orange or this yellow color, just drop it in. I have to keep going and mixing my kind of medium tone, that's fine. Mix away as much as you need. And I'm not thinking too much about it. I'm just kind of letting it happen as it would. Okay, almost done with this one. I'm probably gonna do 2 more petals. And the fun thing is, you know, they all turn out different. As I mentioned, it's fun to experiment. This is only a piece of paper, so if you don't like it at the end, it's not a big deal. You don't have to keep it. But maybe you'll end up loving something that you thought you wouldn't like. And that's kind of the fun part of experimenting with it. Okay, one little petal over here. Oops, I got a little off there, that's all right. Okay, now we're gonna do our little triangles to kind of indicate that the petals are going around. Okay. This can be lighter, maybe you wanna add a little more color in them. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to this one that's behind. And as you can see, I got a little closer together here on this painting than I did in this one. So there's gonna be a little bit more overlap here with these petals, but that's okay. It'll look great either way. So for this one, we're gonna do kind of a darker, little more purpley flower, just to switch it up. And it's in the back, so kind of makes sense that it would be a darker color. So I still have this purpley color from before, so we'll go ahead and use that as well. But we're gonna kind of do the same thing where we get our pink. We can, you know, kind of plan out where our areas are gonna be. A little water. Pick up a little bit of purple. Drop it in, mix it together. And you know, I want it to be like a little less saturated and bright. So I'm gonna pick up some of this brown that I had earlier. And we're gonna add it in. And it just kind of tones it down a little bit, so it's not as purpley, not as strong. Maybe these are a little bit similar, so I'm going to add a little bit more purple to this one I did before. Just so it's a little bit different, I have a couple of colors to play with. Okay. So we're going to get started in the same way. We're going to do the center. And when this one comes down, we're going to stop it. We're not going to overlap with our other flower. We're going to stop it here. Okay, I'm going to take this medium. And we're just going to outline the middle one. And wherever it comes, we're going to follow the shape of the other petal and just stop this one. And so when we come back in, we're going to drop in our color. We're going to make it dark here where this petal is going behind this other one. And I'm going to work my way this way first. I'm going to get the full petals in. Just because that's fun. We have practice with it. We're doing our shapes. Kind of indicate how this flower is going to look. Drop in our colors. More of this. Work our way around. Maybe this one has a little bit shorter petals than the other ones had. Here we go. So here we are, we're making our way around. Same as other ones, just different colors, different shapes. All right. Get this fun color in here. This color. Okay. Now we're going to come back around here and these petals are just going to be cut off by this other one. So same as we did on that first one. Maybe this one's a little skinnier here. And then we're going to drop in our saturated colors here and behind. Okay. So we're just going to keep doing that. Still indicating that these are different kind of petals going different directions. And this is just a stylized version, so we're not really going to worry too much about, the realism of how this is going behind. So this is going to be my last one over here. It's going to come all the way over to this seed head area of the other flower. And then I'm still going to do my little triangles here. Maybe add some color into them. All right, so here we have our petals done. You can see we're getting some cool bleeding effects with the watercolors. And the next step is going to be the stems. So we have our petals done, we're moving on to the stems. Left my brush in the water. So we're going to mix up our green color. I'm going to switch to my number 2 brush. We're just going to pick up some of this green, kind of as we've been doing. So this can be the plain green in case we want to drop that in. Maybe we want one that is a little bit more blue-green. So then you can come pick up just a little blue on your brush, mix that in. Maybe you want one area that's green, kind of a light green. Maybe there's some yellow in there. So we're just going to give ourselves a couple different green colors that we can work with the stems. So as you can see from my example here, we're going to have the stems come in between some of the petals of our flower. We don't want it to come right to the base of the petal. Then it won't look like the stem is kind of tucking up behind into the flower. They can be curvy, they can be straight, stems come in all shapes and sizes, so it's really up to you what you want to do. But we're just going to kind of do it loosely. It doesn't have to be a perfect line. There can be some gaps in between. So So definitely up to you on how you want it to look. I'm going to start with this one, and I think I'm going to tuck it in behind this petal. And maybe it's going to kind of curve around a little bit. So I'm going to pick up my lightest one. I'm kind of mixing it with my pure green here. And we're just going to kind of give the gesture of this stem here. Maybe I want it to come up a little bit more into my flower head. I'm just going to do that for all of these. So I'm just going to look and kind of decide, maybe pre-plan where I want this stem to go. So I think on this one, again, I'm going to tuck it to the right of, actually I'm going to tuck it to the left here of this center petal. So we're just going to kind of start here. Maybe it comes down, curves around. And to get a thicker line, I'm just going to press harder on my brush. Now this one in the back, I'm going to make it a little bit more blue here, because it's farther behind. So this one I'm going to tuck in here, and it's going to kind of come down, be a little bit more straighter maybe. Maybe I want it a little darker here. I ran out of paint. You can go in and drop that in and add it in. Maybe a little up here. Okay. And now I just, my paints are mixing together. That's okay. I'm going to pick up the area that I want here. I'm going to add some little leaves. And it can just be like a little, maybe there's one poking up from down below, over here. Just a little triangle shape to indicate that there's a leaf here. On this one, maybe there's a little gesture of one up here. Again, it doesn't have to be like super realistic. You just want to give an indication to the viewer that this is a leaf. Maybe this one kind of came down from down here. And then maybe I'm going to do a little bit bigger one here on this back flower. It's going to kind of bend. I can make it as thick as I want. I can come in and drop in colors as I did. Maybe I want it a little bit more blue, so you can drop that in. You could drop in some yellow here, maybe here on the top. You can do that in the stems. Kind of have fun with it. Okay, so I just kind of gave an indication of some stems. Now we're going to go back. We've let this dry a little bit, and we're going to connect our petals to our main seed heads here. So I'm going to go back and just kind of pick the dark color here, and we're just going to kind of make sure they connect. Doing it now helps it from bleeding into the seed head that we did before. And I'm going to pick the darker color because in general the color is really concentrated, closest to the seed area. So we're just going to kind of connect them like that. I'm going to go in here, maybe get a little bit more of my pink and my peachy color. And again, if you get too much water, take that off, just add it here to connect these front ones. That way there aren't so many gaps, it looks like it's connecting in. Okay, I'm going to do this last one. And then we'll pretty much be done with our flowers. Okay, so I connected those in really quick. And here we are with our flowers. Like I mentioned before, if you have some metallic paint, now's the opportunity to add it to the seed area. So I'm just gonna get this wet here, really pick up this metallic, which can be tricky sometimes. And then I'm just gonna add it here to my seeds. And I'm just gonna add in a couple that are metallic. And again, if you don't have this, it looks great as it is. This is just something extra if you have it available. It could be fun to add just a little bit of sparkle to your paintings. Alright, so I just did a tiny bit there, and we're done with our painting. So I hope you had fun doing this coneflower painting with me. And if you did follow along, I would love to see what your painting looks like. So take a picture, put it up on Facebook or Instagram, and please tag Laramie Public Art Coalition and Jennifer Power Art and Design, so we can see how you followed along and how your painting turned out. And if you'd like to know more about me, please visit my website, jennifer-power.com. And again, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you let go and had some fun with watercolors. And I'd love to see how your paintings turned out.